Sal Capaccio going to join us here on Bills Dolphins as the Bills are back from Miami after a 30-13 loss in the division to a Dolphins team that entered 2-7. We owe you a few things, including the Skyworks stats of the game as we bring in Mr. Sal Capaccio. I'll give you those Skyworks stats of the game, brought to you by Skyworks Equipment Rental, building America from the ground up. Sal, is there any one stat that, looking back, your arrow up, arrow down, is there any one stat that jumped out at you that you liked that you want to point out, whether it's the Bills on third down, of course. They were terrible on third down throughout this game until garbage time. Anything you like? James Cook, 87.
I like or don't like?
Well,
a lot of stats I didn't like.
Just a stat that tells the story. How about that?
A stat that tells a story. 90 yards of offense in the first half.
Yeah. How about 3.53 seconds time to throw for Josh Allen, the longest of his career since 2018?
Yeah. The some of the advanced stats for sure. Pointed directly to a story, and you can take a look at those. No doubt, there were many numbers that did not go the Bills' way by their own doing in this game, their own undoing in this game. They were good on third down defense. In fact, both teams were 33%, 3 of 9 for the Dolphins, 5 of 15 for the Bills. But 5 of 15 for the Bills against the Miami Dolphins, 90 yards of offense in the first half against the Miami Dolphins, unable to run the football. The best rushing team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills, against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, and the Bills had 87 yards rushing, 4.0 yards a carry, and 31 of those yards rushing basically came on Josh Allen's scrambles. So it was really 53 yards from James Cook, and then pretty much nothing after that. It was a really, really, really bad, tough day.
Yeah. Terrible day for the Bills. They lose. And let's do the Barnes Firm injury report brought to you by the Barnes Firm. Injured for help, call $108 million. Okay, so, Sal, the Barnes Firm injury report, Dalton Kincaid, of course, going to be the biggest name on this because he leaves with a hamstring injury, and it could be some time here.
Yeah, hamstring injuries are always tricky and tough. And, I mean, generally when you get a hamstring injury in a game, pretty much keeps you out at least a game, but we'll see. At that point in the game, they were down. It wasn't completely out of hand yet. So maybe it was okay. Well, we're not going to put you back in, but Dalton limped off the sidelines, even putting weight on his leg. And then when he got there, he went into the tent, he came out, and then he walked to the locker room, and then he came back out in fact, it was, I can't remember exactly when it was. Right, fourth quarter maybe he was in street clothes on the sideline, so he had already been out. Like that's it, he's not going back in the game. So yeah, we'll see where it goes for there. That's number one. Number two would be Landon Jackson, obviously, and excuse me, sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Landon Jackson and his third, fourth play of the game maybe. It was very early on in the game. He suffers a knee injury, and right away you knew it was bad because he didn't get up. Couple guys asked him, "Are you okay?" And he waved like no, and they waved for the trainers to come on, and immediately declared out with a knee injury. And then after the game, I saw him with crutches and a brace on. So not good there for the young rookie who was going to be counted on to step up here.
Yeah, the injuries on the defensive line, a big part of it. Sal, we could get to the defense in a minute. I mean, to me, the defense has reasons. You could call them excuses, but I've got Daquan Jones playing snaps at edge, right? The defensive end room has been decimated at this point, and Joey Bosa is playing with one hand. So I've got some excuses for the defense, and maybe we'll dip back into that. But the story of this game is probably going to be the offense. You mentioned, like, the yards they had in the first half of this game, and the general – I mean, it's a theme of the year. How could a team that runs it this well be so bad throwing the football? Again, with a great quarterback and a great offensive line, how could it be this hard for them?
Remember last year, and then early part this year even, but maybe I remember last year, Baltimore, Houston, and then early part of this year we revisited this, which was, okay, teams are basically just pressing receivers and saying, we're going to make sure, we know you can't beat us with them, and then we're going to come after your quarterback, right? And that's how Josh got beat up a little bit in the Baltimore game. Remember that? Like, that was the blueprint. It's very similar now to me, this game was, and I think this is what teams are going to do going forward, except in one regard. It's, we're going to basically go one-on-one with your receivers because you can't beat us, because we're just going to put guys in the box and stop James Cook. The difference is from last year to this year, it's the same issue. It's wide receivers not getting separation, But instead of blitzing Josh Allen as the counter to why you're doing it, because you're worried about him, now we're just worried about the run game. Josh won't do anything. What could he do? He's got nobody to throw to. So we're just going to load up the box to stop the run game. I asked Spencer Brown and other players in the locker room after the game, but Spencer gave a good answer on this. I said, did they do anything different? I mean, you're the best running team in the league, and you guys couldn't run the ball. And he said, first play of the game, they went base, and he didn't expect them to go base. Now, that doesn't mean that you're unprepared for it. You just make adjustments, but it's a insight into what the Dolphins are thinking immediately. As soon as the game starts, Jeremy, they're like, we're going to put 3 linebackers on the field. You're not going to run the ball, and you can't beat us one-on-one. And that's how we can put 3 linebackers on the field. Yep. They weren't even concerned with going nickel. And that's a problem. And teams are going to do this against the Bills the rest of the year, I think.
Especially if Dalton Kincaid's injury is a long one. Like, that's an even bigger problem from a personnel standpoint for the Bills.
100%. 100%. And they're going to have to find answers in some way, shape, or form to figure out who can step up. And I don't even know how to say it, because what are we supposed to – it's all been said. It's all been said. Yeah. It goes back months. It goes back seasons, weeks, games, whatever, about separation. Like, who – I don't know. Like, people can point to Joe Brady. That's fine. You want to blame the offensive coordinator? That's fine. Say it's scheme. I mean, I was thinking about this last night. I'm a terrible artist. Like, I can't draw anything. I just can't, right? Like, I draw stick figures, all right? If you brought in someone to teach me how to draw, I still don't think I can't do it. Like, I might be able to get a little better at it, right? But I don't think I'll ever be able to actually do it. It's just one of those things where he can scheme up all he wants. But if you don't have the guys who have that skill set to be able to do it, I don't know what else he's supposed to do. Yep. So, but I'm not also absolving him of blame. Of course, like, I think that, yes, he can do more. He's got to do more. That's his job, right? He's got to try and find that. But you have to have guys who can do it. They don't have that. And then on top of that, you have the quarterback who is not pulling the trigger sometimes, Jeremy. I mean, you see some of the screenshots are coming out. You see some of the all 22 that's coming out. It's like, why didn't he throw it here? Like, I saw one yesterday. There's like Keon's open, like 2 yards off the line. Why didn't he throw it? I'm like, well, it is 2 yards off the line. Right, I don't think he wants that play. You know what I mean? Like, he's not trying to get a 2-yard gain. He's trying to get a little bit more. But where is there a little bit more? And you know, the NFL, it's so quick. One of the things that immediately when I got this job to be the sideline reporter, I've been around football all my life, Jared. I've been around high school, college. But when I was on an NFL sideline, that first year, it really, really underscored how fast everything happens, right? Like, you can't, if you get off your first read, bam, like your second read might not be there because you took it's not necessarily the quarterback, just these guys are so good at closing and these guys are so good at getting where they need to go. And I mean, it just feels like there's just nothing there in the first read, or it's so minimal that, okay, there's nothing I can do here. And then you can put that on Josh Allen too. But I just think that everything here, it's not one person to blame. It's the coordinator, it's the quarterback, it's the wide receivers. It's just not enough. They don't have enough there.
Yep. You know, on the coordinator, Sal, we had a call earlier about how the offense looks predictable. And one thing I think about this offense is the idea that the vertical speed that they don't have, that maybe Josh Palmer can help them with this, because we saw a couple plays from him. But, man, do you feel like what we're seeing here is the NFL? You said everybody in the NFL is fast. Everything happens so fast. How about the evolution of once the book is out on how to beat a team? And that might be overused from time to time, but, man, I feel like we know the blueprint to beat the Bills, and so far Joe Brady looks like he's not had answers. Like, the league has figured out his offense from last year, and the evolution of it's not yet arrived.
I agree. I actually exactly in my arrow up, arrow down, I wrote Joe Brady got an arrow down and said not having answers, because early on the Dolphins said, again, we're going to stop James Cook. We're going to load the box. You're not going to run inside zone against us. Bills could not run inside zone. It's their favorite play. They love to run it. They couldn't run it. Every time James Cook tried to cut back, someone was there running downhill to fill. Now you tell me, Jeremy, when linebackers or safeties are running downhill that quick, why is that? Because they're not threatened by anything coming at them outside of the running back coming into the hole. And yeah, they can read it. That's great. But that's what they're doing. And like, okay, we're gonna make sure. I think teams are daring the Bills to do it. They're daring them, but they can't.
Yep.
And that to me is Again, I'll go back to, I'm with you. I'm with everybody. I'm not absolving. Like, yes, Joe Brady has to have answers. My question is, what answers is he supposed to have if he doesn't have wide receivers who can help create the answers?
Pat in Florida, you're on with Sal. Hey, Pat, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to bring up the post-game comments from Allen and Dawkins about them just not wanting it as much as Miami. I mean, what do you mean? The team is 2-7, not making the playoffs. You're 6-2, fighting for the division against a Patriots team who looks amazing, and you just don't want it enough. And I think that's incredibly concerning. I don't know if that's reflective of leadership. It feels like a very Sabre-esque comment. You know, you commented about Ryan O'Reilly earlier in their first hour. I don't know. And it just makes me feel like, you said, there's no fire within the organization. Who's stepping up? I just don't understand how you could not want this game. It just makes no sense to me.
So thanks, Pat, for bringing this up.
Let me step in on this, and I appreciate the call and the comments, because it's right. We were in the locker room, and that was one thing that stood out to me. Josh Allen started off with they wanted it more. Deion Dawkins echoed those comments, basically. I don't think he said the Bills didn't want it enough, but it's the same thing. It's splitting hairs. They said they wanted it more, right? And the energy. They came out the first, even Spencer Brown, basically echoed those comments. And look, I always tell you, you're not wrong. Pat, I'm sorry, right? Is Pat the name, right? Yep. Pat, you're not wrong. Like, how could you not, right? I mean, this is a team they should have put their foot on. They should have buried early. You should have gone out there and said, we're going to make sure it's going to be a long day for you. Your season's over. We're the reigning champions here, and nothing's going to change from how we've done that. There's no doubt. Also tell you that 17 games, 18 weeks in the NFL, it's very, very hard to have that energy every single week, every time you step on the field. I totally get that as well. In fact, you can go back to last week against Kansas City. I think the Bills showed up and were ready to play, and that was a great example of this team wants to get out there, show who they are, what you put on film, all that kind of stuff. The energy was there. And then they come out and they have this one. Now, throughout Sean McDermott's tenure as a head coach, I believe one of his strengths has actually been keeping each game as a week-to-week entity. And very rarely, but it has happened, very rarely have you had these games where his team was flat or the energy like that. Jacksonville was one of them, right? But Jeremy, that game was, oh my God, they were just so flat. That has happened a few times over the years. I think it might have happened maybe in Baltimore and Houston last year. I think Houston was more so for me in that case. It does happen. It's not an excuse. It can't happen, and you have to do everything you can to not let it happen again next week. It can't be a trend. I agree with you. I don't know why it happened. I don't know how it happened, but it was alarming to me that a few players said it happened.
I want to follow up on this point, Sal, because I don't know if you saw, I tweeted about this. Also, I brought this up, and it's not about having actually Stephon Diggs back on the team. But the Patriots win a game in Tampa, and throughout that, I've got Diggs giving a fiery speech. I've got Diggs making a big play on the field as a leader. I've got him recovering the onside kick and taking a huge hit to do it. And then after the game, Trevion Henderson, who had a pair of 50-yard touchdowns, like part of the story of that postgame is Henderson saying the Diggs asks a lot of him, and Diggs saying, I'm hard on him. And I'm thinking back to when Diggs was here. Again, it's not about the individual player. It's about someone that they brought in that kind of upped everything they did. He demanded a lot of them, and it did burn out. And I guess what I would ask is, does this team have enough of that? Enough guys demanding the best from others? Because I know I've got Allen and Bernard as my captains, and Allen is often said to be not really rah-rah guy, right? He's one of the guys. He's a leader with the way he plays. And then I got Terrell Bernard on the other side as a captain who has had a terrible season, and the idea that he would demand anything from anybody might be falling on deaf ears. Like, it comes down to a leadership council kind of conversation. Does this team have the same kind of fire that it has had in years past? Because it sure looks like they just kind of always accept and always expect we'll be fine. There's a ton of we'll be fine as a general, just that's the message they're always putting out there is we'll be just fine. And I feel like sometimes some fire would be warranted.
I agree, and I don't know, and apparently they could use some of that, right? That's right. And I'm glad you said it's not about Stephon Diggs personally, right? That's not like don't say like that's not the guy specifically, but people like him.
But a guy
and you think
like
about the people they've had in this organization, Micah Hyde, right?
Yeah,
Micah Hyde, who I mean, Micah goes about his business, but I think about guys and leaders. But Jordan's not in that same position now, right? You know what I mean? But he's been that kind of player. Like, they had those types of players and the demanding of what was happening. I would even put Von Miller into that category in a lot of ways, right? I mean, Von Miller, the story of walking into a meeting and putting a Lombardi trophy right on the table, right? Like, this is like, you know what I mean? Little things like that behind the scenes. It wasn't necessarily the same realm as Stefan. And now they have these young guys, it's Javon Solomon. Javon was very good after the game yesterday. I talked with him at length yesterday, and he was talking about how being young on this team, and he hasn't gone through tons of tough times yet, and he's like the veterans. He's learned how to win a lot, and haven't learned how to lose a lot, and things like that. It's just it's striking to me, or it was notable to me thinking about that, right? And having certain guys that you have to lean on, and who those leaders are, as you say this. I agree. I think they need a little more. Is Mac Hollins one of these guys that they had last year?
Yeah, right.
And I know he's quirky, and he's got all these, right? But like, you watch the way he plays, and he brings that out maybe in a few of the guys on the team. Does Keon Coleman need someone like that in his room? Does he have someone like that in his room?
Yeah, I'm remembering Allen when the Patriots were here. He really praised Mac for how they still miss him. And I wonder if Allen feels like letting him walk, the extra money, extra year, whatever, was a mistake. On Coleman, Sal, it's interesting that, it's another game where he's catching a lot of heat, even though he did make a big play and did catch a touchdown pass. So Coleman, as a part of their offense, it's like these back shoulder throws, it's these jump balls. He got one. And that was the comment from Allen. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of Bills fans reading into Allen's postgame where he pauses and then says, well, he got one today. And I wonder if you're also reading anything from that about maybe a disconnect between Allen and Coleman, or if you think it was just, whatever, he got one today.
I thought I noted it. I mean, I thought it was interesting. He paused. He said, the question was, do you believe that he's made the most of his opportunities when you've gone his way? I believe it was like that, and phrased in like that. And then he paused. He said, he got one today. And I don't know what he meant by that exactly. Like, he got one today, and he got one thrown his way and he made the most of it, or he got a touchdown today, probably, I guess is what he meant. I'm not really sure. I understand why people would do that. Now, we gave Keon Coleman a chance too in the locker room, talking with him. Question was, how do you feel your chemistry or relationship is with Josh? However, whatever word you want to use. I think it was Jay Skursky who might have asked it and said, whatever word you want to use. And he said it's never been better. He said that everything seemed good from there. So we'll take it from what it is. I thought it was also interesting. Sean McDermott, when asked by Jay, he said he was asked. The question was, Brandon Beane said he still believes there's a championship roster here.
Yeah.
Do you believe that? Sean's answer was, I love these guys in this room.
Yeah, I love these players.
I love these players. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no.
Right.
And I don't know if that's his way of saying yes, right? But
I think it's his way of saying no. Otherwise, saying no. Right, that's my read. I mean, if you're asked a yes or no question, and the obvious, easy answer that is not even a headline is yes, right? And you can't get yourself to it, of course I believe in this team. It's just easy, and we wouldn't even necessarily have to believe him. To make a choice to not say yes is, to me, pretty stark. That's a big deal to me.
Well, and if that's the case, I mean, he's sending a message in some capacity to somebody, but I mean, the trade deadline's gone.
Yep. What do you make?
Right, go ahead.
What do you make of the Waddle report and how that all works? It comes out, Tom Pelissero and others reporting the Bills had tried to get Jalen Waddle, and Sal, it almost feels like it backfired. That information gets out there to maybe make the Bills look like they tried hard, and it was a team in their division that shut it down, and yet the reported price or the reported breaking point that it was a 2026 first instead of a 2027 first, it feels like the leak backfired because plenty of Bills fans would have said, sounds good, and then that guy went over top of you and showed you why you would have done it. It feels like insult to injury, and the whole thing is a mess, even more so, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people not believing it and thinking it's PR spin or whatever. Look, I agree that it's out there for a reason, and at least it's something that people can look at and say, okay, the Bills tried. I don't think it's BS. I think they did.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's right. That this happened. I also think, to me, my biggest takeaway was, and I said this to you the day after Brandon talked, and you had your theory about Brian Thomas, right? Remember that? You had your theory. And I don't even remember what my theory was. My theory was they went hard after someone in the division, or they went hard after somebody had a deal. It wasn't. They had something in place. They had something that he thought he was doing, and that was taken away. You know what I mean? Like, that was my read. My read was there was something that was going on that he was pretty confident, because he said, Brandon Beane said, if I were a betting man, I would have lost money on us not making a deal if I was in Vegas.
That's right.
Like, that to me was saying I had a deal. Like, there was something happening here. Then you had, let's go back. Hey, Diana Rossini reported that day the Bills were checking in on division teams, and division teams were reluctant to trade. Brandon Beane said it. He said it that day, guys. He said, we looked in, like, the division teams. Unfortunately, the two teams selling in our division, they were interested. I'm taking all of that along with the report from Pelissero and Ian Rappaport and going, they made a run at Waddle. Yep. They made a run at Quinnen Williams. I do believe that 100%. Now, Jeremy, you correct me. I don't know this. Breaking point, did the Dolphins say they would have done it for a 26 first? I didn't see that.
Yes.
I didn't see that part of it.
Some of the reporting is that it was a 2027 first and a 2026 third, and that the Dolphins wanted both picks in 26, and that's where it all fell apart.
Okay.
Because to me, it's the same value, and you can be mad that the other guy tried to get a little bit extra out of you, but, you have Josh Allen in a Super Bowl window, and your offense looks broken. The idea that you would walk away from that and act like you're not the one that didn't get it done, like it's not somebody else's fault. You're the one calling in the division. You didn't get Shaheed. You didn't get Jacoby Myers if those would have been upgrades. You wanted to go big game hunting and didn't get it over the line. And if it really did come down to which year the first-round pick was in, that is a tough sell as a reason not to do it.
I wonder, too. I wondered about this. Is it possible, I think it's possible, would we know, that Chris Greer had agreed to do this deal, and that's why he got fired? Because the owner said, you're not doing that.
I mean, I don't know, because, again, the reporting is that Miami still would have done it for the right price, and the price is the same ultimate value of picks. Right. It just would have left the Bills with no first and no third this year, and maybe Beane doesn't want to do that in a year where he doesn't have a first and a third in the same year. Like, that could just be too much. Like, no, I'll give you a first and a third, but they have to be alternate years, right? I don't know, but it's certainly tough to swallow. All right, Sal, Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show coming up at 10 o'clock. You've got arrow up, arrow down, and all right. Next,
buddy.
Tampa, and a big one, right? Like,
yeah, and hey, I mean, the Bills are behind here now, right, in the standings, and they have a lot of work to do. The season isn't over. I know what it feels like to a lot of fans, but what you do is you get back to work today, and you make sure what happened yesterday does not happen again, especially in a home game against a good team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you go out there and you beat Tampa, and you start to feel a little better about yourself, and you have a quick turnaround to go to Houston, right? And like, you can, the next 10 days, Jeremy, the next 10 days are going to tell a big story and how we're going to feel about this team. I'll tell you that. So, you get the Patriots on a Thursday night this week for the Jets. They're probably going to win a game here. But you're still getting the Patriots later. The season is not over, of course, in a playoff spot. But you got to make sure this week has to be very, very, very intentional.
The other thing I want to mention, and you know this very well, like, to try and still win the division, you'll probably have to beat New England. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But you'll also probably now have to finish a full game in front of them, because tiebreakers, you lost to Miami. And I don't expect them to do that. So the division became a big, big hill to climb here. All right, Sal, thanks very much.
Okay, you got it.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline on Buffalo Bills Football Monday. You want to give us a call on the Waddle trade that wasn't? Quinnen Williams would have been, I guess, an answer. He went for a first-round pick to the Cowboys. 803-0550. The deadline comes and goes.